If you love movies, you're in the right place, and that place is here at the Chronicle, the official film podcast for the people's movies. Welcome back. This is episode 51 of the podcast. My name is Paul. I am your host. I'm also the editor-in-chief of the People's Movies website. We've got two co-hosts today. We have Sean Wilson and Nick Bartlett. How are you doing, guys?
Good, thank you.
Very well, thanks, Paul. Yeah, I wondered who was going to go first. Yeah.
This obviously, we're recording this on the 29th of October, and in a couple of days it is Halloween. So I thought for this episode, we'll go for some sort of spooky Halloweeny. We do have one new review. That review is going to be VHS Halloween, which is out in Shudder. And guys, you're going to talk about sort of ghosts, supernatural type things. We've got a couple of found footage films as well. So it's just an all-round chat about horror and Halloween. So we're going to start episode 51 of the Chronicle with an actual review, but it's a review that's very relevant for Halloween, and this film is on Shudder, and it's the latest installment of the VHS franchise, and it's VHS Halloween. So I just watched, guys. Have any of you actually seen this film?
No, I've not seen it, but I've seen the first VHS, but that's it.
That's
Yep.
same with me. Yeah, I remember
Same with me,
seeing
yeah.
the first one. Haven't seen any of the others.
For this one, I believe this is obviously it's the annual found footage horror anthology from the streaming service Shudder. The first three films, I remember, guys, the VHS, which is VHS 1 to 3, I think it was E1, Entertainment 1, it released them, and I think the first two might have been in the cinema. Would that be right?
I mean, I saw the first one at Fright Fest when it was first released, and that.
I was Fright Fest Glasgow. I think I might have got it as a home entertainment. I believe it was released in the cinema. The sort of setup of the VHS films, it's like little shots, and a lot of them are at the beginning. There's a lot of established filmmakers here, and sort of genre films all made little films for here. I mean, you've got Adam Wingard, David Bruckner, Gareth Evans, Ty West. I forget who the guys are in it. But Radio Silence, they were the guys that did, I was at the previous Scream films, weren't it? The reboots.
Yeah, it's, Matt Bettinelli, Olpen, and Tyler Gillett, I want to say.
Yep, that sounds
Those
about right.
guys. Yeah.
Did they not do the last Final Destination film, The Bloodlines, as well? Am I thinking of someone else?
They did Abigail, the vampire, the girl
Yeah.
vampire film, which is really good fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I really liked that, which
Yeah.
I think is a perfect movie for Halloween as well.
Yeah.
It's very, very silly, very stupid, but it's just a fun film. Critically, I think VHS 2 was seen as a better film, but VHS 1 had a lot of things in it, which are a lot of good, but it had a lot of flaws. VHS 2 had a lot of flaws as well. I mean, you had the storytelling was very good, the production and things was more creative. It was essentially more entertainment. I don't know if you guys have seen the second one, but there was a couple of films that I thought stand out in that one. It was the one for Gareth Evans and Timo Hanto. Excuse me, my Indonesian's not very good, and that was Safe Haven. That was all like a documentary crew who infiltrate a death cult. And the other one was The Ride in the Park, which came from the guys that made the Blair Witch, Edward Sanchez and Greg Hale, which was like a zombie film, but seen for a one-person GoPro. I think they two were absolute fantastic films. Guys, you said you've seen the first film. The first film, what was it you liked about the first film?
The Radio Silence one is the one I remember the most. So I think I remember that's the one with the party, isn't it? Where they sort of crash in the party, and then
Yeah.
I loved all of that stuff. The effects are amazing, but also the way they use the sort of analog technology, or the analog sort of look is what sort of sticks in my memory the most. Like generally speaking, like I liked all of them. The one I didn't like so much was there's the sort of slasher sort of parody in the woods. They didn't where the monster's like a glitch. Do you remember that
Yeah.
one?
Mm.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
All the others, like there's the one, I think, is it Joe Swanberg directed it, where the couple going on a trip, and it's like, was it Adam Wingard? I get confused.
It's,
Is that that's Ty West? I think I'm getting them all mixed
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
The guys all work together anyway.
Yeah, they're
you
all
know?
from the same stable, aren't they? Roughly,
Yeah.
like they all came up together, didn't they? Yeah.
I think it's the Ty West one that really spooked me when I saw it, because it's like it goes from like nothing happening to that sort of it's the footage of the camcorder, isn't it? And
Oh, the second honeymoon one where they're in, is it when they're in the motel and the guy breaks in? Is that the
no,
one?
no. It's a couple on their honeymoon, and they're recording their trip and everything, and then like they switch the camera off, and then it comes on again, and they're fast asleep, and it's just watching them.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was creepy. Yeah,
Aye.
yeah.
I mean, VH2 had the one with that woman with the big creepy eyes. I think that was the opening film of VH2. The guy thought, they were out at the club, and the guy thought, yeah, man, I've knocked it off here. I've got a pretty girl here. And he's talking away to her, and she's just staring at him, and her eyes just get bigger and bigger and bigger. I can't remember who directed that one, but it was the opening one.
That's the one where they've got the camera in the glasses, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one.
I
You
think
know,
that's, I think I've seen that, so I think that must be in the first one, but I could be wrong.
or maybe it is the first one, but the first one and two
Really?
are the actual best ones, you know.
Yeah.
So that was Entertainment won it. I think it did Date Films, and I think it was Magnet releasing in America. But obviously, it's new home since number 4. I believe there's 8 in total now been done, and a couple of spin-offs. It's Shudder's now it's home, and every film since number 1 is a various levels of enjoyment. Some are very unsettling. A lot are also inconsistent. You know, filler segments. You know, but which were very, very poor. And I think that's sort of one of the downsides of sort of VHS films. The latest installment, VH Halloween, basically arrived with virtually no promotion. There was a trailer. Shudder is one of the companies who do send me stuff quite a lot. They never sent me anything for Halloween, which I thought was a bit of a shock. There's a few films in here. The first one is by a director called Anna Zlotkovich. I don't know what films she's done. I think she's a fairly new director, but I think she's done a lot of other stuff. It was called Coochie Cuckoo. So it's like two young teens, young women, who decide to head out to do one last trick or treat, and they learn about this urban myth, a woman called the Mummy, as in a parental mummy, not a mummy as in
Not the bandages.
the bandages. Yeah, yeah. And the myth is, it was these young guys that told them they were at university, so they're telling the urban myth about it, telling that you're too old to trick or treat, and the mummy will get you. The two girls decide just to go out, you know, start ruining up any other people's trick or treats, and then suddenly this house appears from nowhere. At the same time, the guys who were telling me about the myth, they tell me a story about a young girl from the university who goes out dressed as a cheerleader, and she suddenly disappears, and there's no story about them. This house, as I said, appears out of nowhere, and they start to learn that the mummy is no urban myth. And this one is probably could have been plot wise to this sort of very old school VHS film, VHS segment. Get kudos for trying to be its own base, you know, sort of swaying away from the sort of traditions of horror, but it fell flat especially when it tried to be very comedic at times. The mummy, she's not a monster in sense, but she's got like 6 nipples, and then the breasts are all drilling milk as well, and she's just going all the time, you know, and then it's just like
this sounds absolutely crazy.
It is. It's a bit bonkers, but you know, it fell flat. But what it was trying to be was like a rip off of Barbarian. Now that's a proper movie.
Barbarian's a great film. Yeah, Zach Cregger. Yeah,
yeah, which a couple of weeks ago appeared on BBC.
Yeah, because it didn't get a DVD release, did it, or a Blu-ray release? If I'm not mistaken about that.
I think that's going. If it hasn't, it's going to be Second Sight. They're going to do a special on it. That's a fun way up their alley. The other thing about it is you don't hear much about the story, you know, as well. It's like you're getting into it. It sort of falls flat a wee bit. Yeah.
Oh, you talking about Barbarian or the VHS?
No, sorry, the Coochie Cuckoo one. No, but Barbarian, I reviewed it for the People's Movies. It's because I also did it for a podcast as well. You'll find it on the website, peoplesmovies.com. So the next one, forgive me, my Spanish isn't very good. So it's Uta Super Seek Infra. It's done by the guy who made the Rec films, Paco Plaza. You know, so
they're great. The first Rec is fantastic. It's really intense.
Yeah. And talk about found footage, folks.
Yeah.
We're going to mention a few found footage. I probably should have done that one, but I try to stay away from the usual suspects. So this is set in Madrid, and it's an abandoned home by it used to be an infamous Italian medium, a lady. So what we get is we can see a group of friends having a Halloween party, and a very weird one here, which becomes a scene of a mass murder. And there's one man that's left. His name is Enric. So it starts also before that, where he's getting interviewed by the police, and every so often it sort of cuts in. You get to see bits of the what actually happened. Basically, what you see is this girl, the friend of Henrik, she's dressed as a nun, and they're leading everyone into this weird tall room, and in the middle is a telephone, but it's not hooked into anything. It's an old telephone, and on the wall upside down there's a it says ut supra sic infra, which basically means as above, so below. So that gives a little clue what may happen. What happens is the phone rings. Enric decides to answer it, even though they're told not to answer it. And he says that also at the same time, as above, so below in Spanish 3 times. And he starts having this convulsion, and everyone gets killed. So roll back to the police. They're taking him back to the scene of the crime, and he reluctantly goes back into the room. And guess what? After he said the saying, chaos happens again, you know. So this one, it's a very sort of solid possession movie. Nothing over the top. Just very, very, very solid. So the next one is done by a director called Casper Kelly. Once again, I'm very unsure of what films this guy's done. It's called Fun Size. And this is probably the most demented one of them all, the funniest of them all. So we meet two adult couples who have just left an adult Halloween party. Very disappointed that there was no chocolate or candy, as obviously it's American. And they said, let's go out. Let's go out. Once again, it's a documentary. They're filming everything. It's two couples. One couple's a documentary crew. Obviously, every second horror movie is a documentary crew, so that's where they get the joke from. And they come across this weird house, which has a bowl outside, and there's a sign up saying only one per person. But one of them obviously steps over the line and takes more than one. And weird things start to happen. A hand comes out the bowl and grabs one of them and grabs them into this alternate world here. And it's like a warehouse. It's not reality. And they're getting attacked by a deranged candy mascot. This is sadistically funny, and it delivers a laughs, but it also is very creepy at the same time. Reminds you, if it tells you to take one, only take one. And if you're greedy, it'll make you think twice of taking more bits of chocolate than you expected, because something happens in the reality, that world. It gives you an idea what the chocolates were in that bowl, and all it says they might be phallic. Yep, I won't say much more about that, but it's very, very deranged stuff, guys. I'll tell you after the podcast if you want to know any more about that.
That one sounds like that Trick or Treat. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. And I believe that's just been re-released by Arrow.
Oh, the Michael Dougherty one with Brian Cox in it. Yeah,
Cox.
Little salmon like going around like enforcing the rules of Halloween. You know, like
it's the kid with the sack mask on, isn't it? And he connects. That's. I need to watch that again. That's a great film. Yeah.
And by the way, folks, that's Brian Cox of the Scottish fame, not his sing.
Not the physicist.
The next one is probably the most non-horror one, but the subject matter takes into horror. It's by Alex Ross Perry, who did the recent Pavements movie, but he also did the film that I reviewed called Her Smell. It's kid print. And this
I've heard about this one. I've not seen this film, but I've heard about this extract on the grapevine. Yeah.
So this takes us back to the 90s, 1992, and it's a small American town. It's just been rocked by a slew of child and teen murders. So a local businessman, Tim Kaplan, creates this kid print. It's like a video ID to recognise their kids if they ever go missing. It's for the parents if they feel that, anything happens. So the kids stand there and they get all the pictures taken and everything. Tim, he owns the local electricity shop. You got your TVs, your video players and things like that. This is before digital. So he gathers all the stuff in. He's got his crew there, and there's little suspicions of certain crew that are happening there. Halloween happens, but it's a weird Halloween. And it's an area where the police are all there, and the police are giving out the trick or treat, the candies and everything. Tim decides to go back to his shop, and things start to get revealed. I'm not going to say much more about it, but folks, this is probably the darkest of all of them, because Kid Print was an actual real system It happened back in the 90s in America. Probably back in the 90s. I actually know how old I am. And it might have been a little British version, anything that the Americans do, the British do it as well. Divided audiences, which, Sean, you probably heard about, because very grounded. It's a bit too close to the bone for some folks, because the horror's all about if you like to say, serial killer. You don't actually see the actual killings in this. It's graphic, it's very disturbing. I think it actually could have been a film in its own right. It could easily have done that. Never know, it could actually do it. You want to spill any beans here, Sean, on what you might have heard?
I just heard that it's very extreme, because I think Alex Ross Perry, I'm not massively familiar with his work, but I think he's dwelt in this area before, and I suppose with it having the VHS quality, I suppose it's got that disturbing, grainy, maybe like almost like a snuff film kind of thing, or bordering on that. Maybe this is what I heard, again, without wanting to go into too many details about the plot. But I know it involves children, and I mean, I'm not I like gruesome stuff, but I'm not into sadistic, like nasty stuff. I don't like things like that, and I'm a big horror fan. It sounds quite unpleasant from what I've heard about it. I suppose that's part of this anthology, right? To push emotional extremes all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, the things that you've said there are correct. And I didn't want to go into too much just for people, because it is available now on Shudder. It actually came out at the start of the month rather than like around this time of the month. As I said, this is the 29th of October we're recording this. So yeah, that's very, very, very dark. So the next one, I think is the last one, is Home Hunt. And that's directed by Michelin Pitt Morin and R.H. Morin. And it's about a family. It's a guy called Keith. He loves Halloween. And every year he sets up a haunted house with his wife and his son, Zach. So we get to see at the beginning, all getting set up. But years later, Zach's grown up. He has no interest in it to keep up the family tradition. But a bit of arm twisting in that, he rottingly decides to get involved again. So he goes with his dad to the local antique shop. I think the Americans call it Curiosity Shop, where his dad finds this vinyl album called Halloween Horrors, but he's unaware when you play it, the record opens a portal and it unleashes things like zombies and creatures and madmen and witches, and all says karma decides to strike on him. What I liked about this one is it delivers some laughs, maybe not as funny as dark fun size. It plays a lot on the sort of charm and the emotional side of things and obsession and traditions. However, the one thing I did like about this is his neighbour happens to be a special effects legend, and that is Rick Baker. That's Rick Baker who designed the American Werewolf in London. Without getting into a lot of the sort of fruity language that they have in it, Rick Baker's standing there and he's telling them how bad his special effects and what he's set up his house is. He's saying they're crap. That's basically saying, and that's quite funny, that side of things, As you guys all know, in Halloween, there's little short segments in between the films, and these are made by the Scottish music filmmaker Brian M. Ferguson. Ladytron, I think, is one of his more known musical videos that he's made for, and this is called Diet Phantasma, and it takes us back to the 80s, where the Octagon Company are planning to launch a new soda called Diet Phantasma. Every scene in between it, we get to see how evil and how deranged and how bonkers each scene is in between them. What it is, it's what happens to the testers, and they don't realise it's maybe some supernatural. Overall, VH Halloween, unfortunately, falls into the middle and mid-range. And I think it's in a dire need of a refresh, the whole franchise, a fresh sort of storytelling. I enjoy shots that are very unpredictable. And this film, unfortunately, goes a little bit too unpredictable. But if you're looking for a sort of disposable found footage franchise, it does deliver a reasonable number of scares and laughs. A lot of times the laughs are at the bad acting or the old chestnut of, which I'm going to be mentioning again later on, is it's so bad it's so good. And each film did attempt to be something different, but it didn't really do anything. But despite those sort of poor entries in the franchise, VHS, I think, has become a bit of an institution. It's not as good as VH Beyond, which was one of the more recent ones, which is considered the sort of best of the bunch. And VHS and Viral, I don't know if that was VHS number 3. I don't know, any of you guys seen that one?
No, I'm afraid. it seems like you felt you liked some of them more than others, though, right? Like the kid print one sounds pretty, I mean, extreme but memorable, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very mixed bunch of films there. As I said, it did give a lot of laughs and that there as well. It could have been the funniest of all the entries as well. The other problem is it was very exhausting watch. It's nearly 2 hours long. What I know in 50 minutes, 54 minutes. And I think it would have been more rewarding if they actually maybe cut off.
That's five short films, right?
Yes, I had maybe one shot down, maybe 4 shots. It might have been
Uh,
better.
with the linking stories as well.
Yeah, folks. So this is the only film I'm going to give a rating to because it's a new film. So I'm going to give this 3 stars. Guys, who would like to go next and talk about one of their films or genres?
I'm happy to talk about Martyrs for a bit if you want.
Yeah. What a film that is. Go for it.
Talking about extreme cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like set the scene a bit. This is like I've told this story to lots and lots of people before, but like we've got a sort of tradition in my friend group where like we will every year we'll get together at Halloween and we'll watch 2 horror films, and we'll watch one sort of schlocky fun one that we can sort of laugh at the bad effects and stuff, and then one genuinely disturbing one. And so like I think it was like this is a long time ago, but we watched one of the first ones we watched George Romero's Day of the Dead, and then we put on Wreck, which we just talked about.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, yes, that's how I thought as well. But one of my friends, like literally the whole time, was just on his phone, just going like, "When's this get scary? When's this gonna get scary?"
Oh,
Oh.
today's youth.
I was just
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I was like, right, next year I'm gonna get you. And so the next year I put on, we eased into it as zombie flesh eaters, and then we watched.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I put on Martyrs. It was a massive over
Overcompensation.
we sort of watched it all, and then at the end of the film, everyone just sort of we turned the lights on, and everyone just sort of looked like pale, like trauma, and everyone just sort of got up and left, and it was like, yeah, everyone was just, oh, should we?
Same time next year, everyone.
Yeah. I guess we'll just get on with our lives now. But yeah, it's like that's what Martyrs will do to you. It's like it's one of those films where like explain like too much of the plot, it really will dilute the effect of it. Because it's a having said all that, I think it's a brilliant film. The barest of plot things is it starts with a young girl like running out of I think a warehouse and like covered in blood and screaming, and then it and then it basically cuts to like 14 years later, and it's like, and then it turns into something resembling like a home invasion. And I'm not going to say any more about the actual plot because it's like, but at the center of it is this friendship between these 2 girls, one of whom has just been through this horrible trauma, and the other one is sort of like essentially her guardian and is like protecting her like mentally and physically, like she's sort of there to help her friend out basically, and even if her friend has done something horrific. But yeah, it's sort of one of those films where it sort of veers from like home invasion to there's a sort of hint of something supernatural at first, but at the end of each sort of act of the film, the whole thing sort of pivots to something else, and it's like it keeps you guessing the whole way through, and it's like this like we can talk about how nasty it is because it is horrific.
Very.
But what sticks with me after is just how clever the plot structure is and how sort of emotional the film makes you. Like you really care about the 2 main characters. And yes, that's that's Martyrs. It's sort of like it gets lumped in with the new French extremity sort of movement, which I don't know if you know. I've seen many of those.
Like high tension or switchblade
Yeah.
romance, they was calling it. Yeah, things like that.
For me, it's not as bad as that. Because those are very much like hack and slash and horrible viscera and stuff. Like
Yeah.
inside, yeah, and stuff like that. I put this I think on I did a review of the new Eureka release of it, and on there they sort of talk about how it straddles there's 2 genres of like new French extreme and like French horror. and I think that's a lot. It's a lot more sort of. It's got a lot of horror sort of tropes in it.
So would you say this is more psychological compared to something like High Tension? Would that be right?
For me, yeah, definitely, and not just and psychological, but also like thematically, there's a lot going on. It's difficult to pick your words where you don't give anything away because I don't want to give anything away. But there's sort of it's almost like transcendental in places the way it sort of approaches like this sort of ideas of like what happens after you die and stuff like that. Yes, I've got a lot of time for it, and I think it's one of those. Even when I was watching it to review this, I had to leave the room at certain points.
See, because I'll be honest, I'm a big horror fan, always have been. I haven't seen this, but I know of Martyrs by reputation. I'm not sure I want to see it. So if you could pitch it to me, if you were pitching it to me, how would you get me to convert, do you think?
I mean, look, if you don't like gore, it's not going to be for you.
Oh yeah, gore I'm good with. It just depends on the context. Like if there's enough context for it, you think of something like John Carpenter's The Thing, which is extremely gruesome, but it makes sense. Or The Fly or something like David Cronenberg. I know that's more body horror, isn't it? I imagine this is slightly different to that.
There's an element of what I find really weird. So, I mean, it's interesting you say The Fly because to me, again, as disgusting as The Fly gets, for me, what sticks with me after that film is just how sad it is.
Yeah,
I feel that's the sort of feeling I get from Martyrs as well. Is there's horrific stuff in it, but afterwards I'm just like just left all hollowed out. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I found what I discovered when I was writing my reviews. What I found really weird is that the director, I haven't said his name yet. I think it's called Pascal Laugier. I think is how you pronounce it. He was inspired by Hostel. I find bananas because they could not be. They've both got horrible gore in it, but for me, it's like the approach is just miles apart. Like Hostel, obviously, you watch it and it's almost like a sort of theme park ride, isn't it? It's like we're sort of reveling in these people getting killed in horrific ways, whereas this is like you feel everything that they go through, and it's like there's a combination of like a lot of things that I find really interesting. Like it's just about the most traumatic sort of rendering of like survivor's guilt that I've ever seen in a film. And yeah, and it's like, it's almost like you can almost make an argument that it's sort of allegorical for like the film industry in general, and how it sort of depicts like a sort of class of like older wealthy people like exploiting like and using the bodies of like generally young women and stuff, and just like for their own ends. And it's like there's layers and layers and layers, and I think it's great.
but it's interesting because we said this is part of the new French extremity movement, but then the French have always been fantastic at horror, whether it's extreme or not. Because I think, wasn't it in Paris that, well, Grand Guignol, the phrase Grand Guignol, like the idea of that theatre of extremity, wasn't it? That originated in Paris, didn't it? That started live, and then as cinema developed, obviously filmmakers from all over the world adopted Grand Guignol, like the idea of extreme gore and extreme violence. So maybe in the case of this particular film, maybe it all comes back full circle. Perhaps,
yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess there's sort of elements of like something like Eyes Without a Face, maybe as well.
That's a really great film. Yeah,
like I mean, not stylistically, it's very like, but just in the sort of themes of the film and stuff. But yeah, no, I would. Yeah, I think Pascal Laugier would say it's just definitely not a part of the new French extremity. A lot of filmmakers whose work is lumped in with that do not agree with it. Like I reviewed Claire Denis' Trouble Every Day earlier this year, and it's like I would class Martyrs as much closer to that than something like High Tension or like Inside.
Trouble Every Day it gets considered part of the French extreme horror cinema. And also with the Gaspar Noé's Irreversible. That's another one. It's in there. As you said, Nick, it is a hard movie to describe because it feels like two different movies. As you said, it's like the heist movie, and then what happens after that. I don't think you could actually describe that part of the movie. It had Croffy. He's reviewed the 4K Eureka film for the People's Movies. And in his review, do you know that the director was actually suffering from depression when he made it?
Yeah.
And that must have been some depression. it's one of the films. You know, when they talk about and I hate the word elevated horror, art house horror as I call it. It's an art house horror. It has all it ticks all the boxes of an art house, but it also ticks all the boxes of a horror movie, especially the last part, what you'd see it happen. It is one of those movies. See, if you're going to watch a movie, you say it's one of the movies you only watch once.
You say that,
But
I think I've watched it 3 or 4 times.
I'm the same as well. I'm the same, but see, when I watched it, actually, I've actually seen it on Channel 4.
Oh,
It was on Channel a long time ago. It was well cut, and it was because it was that cut, I decided to go and get the Studio Canal released it in Blu-ray and DVD here in the UK, and I saw the full version of it. As we mentioned before, Fright Fest, they showed the remake, the American remake, which is
they remade it. Oh, I didn't know
2015, I think it was.
Oh, right.
It's completely different. The original. Yeah, the original's about 2 hours long, roughly about 2 hours. 2 hours, a brutal film.
Oh, but it's got a great ending as well. I didn't mention.
Yes,
It's got like
yeah,
one of those. It's almost like the twisted reflection of like Lost in Translation.
yeah,
I'm getting more and more intrigued by this.
yeah,
It's just like, what did she say? What did she say? That sort of thing.
yeah.
It's like you don't, and yeah, and it's like it's very, very ambiguous, but it's like, part of you wants them to have some sort of victory, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is, what it means at the end. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it was something to do with. I think he get very into his religion, very faith as well. So there's a sort of faith thing in there, and also his dark heart of his soul, where he obviously was going through depression. I think he was thinking of suicide at the time, and that's sort of that's how dark and grim the movie gets. He dived right into his soul, and that was what he was saying was what you see in this film. It's hard to describe. Believe it or not, within the sort of gore and horror, there's a beauty of it as well. There's a lot of emotion in it as well. It's one of the movies you have to just watch it. Have a remote control next to you, because every so often you might, as you said, Nick, you might have to stop it.
I didn't even stop it. I just left the room.
Oh, there you go.
The film is forcing me out.
Yeah.
Let's go stand
Yeah.
for like 5 minutes.
So you missed a bit when Max von Sydow came in for The Exorcist. I'm joking. Anyway, you want to round up, or does anyone else want to think anything else for that film?
I think we just need to make sure Sean watches it now.
Yeah.
I've set myself a precedent now.
Yeah, and folks, we apart from me, I can see both Sean and Nick on their camera, and the reaction when I said that is the reaction you'll probably get when after you watch it. You go, "What the heck have I just watched?"
I'll have to do like a live stream or something of my reactions. Yeah.
Before we finish that, the last time I watched, actually when I first watched when I got the Blu-ray, was I watched it as a double bill. I thought, yeah, I watched this film. Who is it directed by? Xavier Gens, and it was The Divide. So I watched Martyrs and The Divide. The Divide was the American one where it was set when the bomb going off and they're on the bomb shelter under the building.
Oh yeah, is it Michael Biehn? Is Michael Biehn?
Yeah, Michael Biehn.
Yes, I have seen that. Yeah,
and one of the Arquettes and a few other well-known faces in the genre. My God, that was some brutal night, and I'm surprised I actually got to sleep that day as well. Who would like to go next? Is it me again?
Well, I can do because you mentioned found footage, and Strange Harvest is out, which I reviewed for you guys. Do you want me to quickly mention that?
Yeah, go for it.
So you guys, we've all been talking about found footage, and there's a movie that's out actually now in time for Halloween on VOD platforms, which isn't technically a found footage movie. It's more of a mockumentary with elements of found footage in it. So have you guys seen Lake Mungo, the Australian film?
Yes.
Thoughts? Because I think that film is a masterpiece. So what do you guys think of that?
No comment.
I like it a lot. I wouldn't go so far as to say masterpiece, but I really like it.
Yeah, just that idea of simulated reality. Like it's not found footage, it's a mockumentary where you've got fake talking heads from actors who are basically saying as if they're in a real life thing. It's a very, very hard thing to pull off, and I think Lake Mungo does it brilliantly. But the movie that's out this year, along these lines is Strange Harvest, which is directed by Stuart Ortiz, who did Grave Encounters, the found footage movie from a few years ago, which is a bit of a cult favorite. But like I said, this is a mockumentary, so simulation of real life in which two California cops in the Inland Empire of California recount how they basically lost their souls, Zodiac style, to this nefarious and absolutely elusive serial killer who calls himself Mr. Shiny. Yeah, I know. And it's like, believe me, this guy is not cuddly. If the name sounds cuddly, he is not. And
It's the
this,
thing about horror films, isn't it? Whenever there's a sort of cutesy name, I immediately go,
Yeah.
this is gonna be
yeah,
terrible.
it's the opposite of what it sounds like. Yeah, yeah. This guy does not play nice. He stages appalling crime scenes with a ritualistic and occult edge. There don't appear to be any connections between any of the victims. Sometimes entire families turn up. Sometimes it's individuals that have been mutilated. This person always seems to be able to escape the crime scene undetected, and gradually it steals up on the two police officers. Are we actually dealing with someone who's strictly human here, or has he or she been imbued with something else, maybe some kind of like Lovecraftian cosmic mythology? I'm a big HP Lovecraft fan, so that steals in from the side. But I think, to the movie's credit, it doesn't over explain itself. I mentioned this in my review for the People's Movies. It approaches some kind of maybe cosmic theology, and then it just about backs off from it, and it allows us to imagine our own answers as to what's going on, which I think is to its credit. But very creepy. I mean, it's got a serial killer with a mask, and the mask is really, really creepy. So I interviewed Stuart Ortiz about that, and he said, yeah, masks in horror, you get the mask right and everything kind of falls into place. Really good, really creepy, very disturbing at times, very gruesome when you see the aftermath of the crimes. There's one fantastically sinister bit with a girl in her room who's got her webcam running. Her parents have gone out, and of course you hear the front door going. You think, that's not the parents that have come back, is it? And she's in the house on her own, and yeah, there then ensues a very, very unsettling sequence from this like locked off webcam position. But I don't know, what you have I sold it to you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not generally like a big found footage fan. But like if the conceit is strong enough, I'm in for it. You know.
Yeah,
I go.
I'm the same. Believe it or not, when we were just as you were talking about Lake Mungo, I didn't realise I was about to say I never watched Grave Encounters and then realised that the film you're talking about is done by the director.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, Stuart Ortiz. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to stress is this is a mockumentary with elements of found footage in it. So there are, within Strange Harvest, there are extracts where, for example, you'll see something recorded on a webcam or on a CCTV in which the killer attacks somebody. So that's as close as you can get to, the immediacy of the actual crimes being committed, even though you're watching it retrospectively. Like, those scenes are very shocking, as they should be. But the way it weaves a sense of mythology around this completely anonymous and completely elusive maniac is actually really creepy, and I think it's very well judged, for the most part. It creates like a real boogeyman, like Halloween, the shape, Michael Myers kind of like vibe around it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not. I think for me, I know we talked about VHS earlier. I mean, I watched the first VHS, and to be honest, that one kind of ground my gears a little bit after a while, because I thought it was just too much. It's just too much. The shaky, grainy cam. There are too many stories. So goodness knows what I'd react to with the later VHS movies. I think I'd
Yeah.
find them too much, to be honest. But I think there are some fantastic found footage and mockumentary films. There are some terrible ones, a lot of terrible ones.
You
But
see
yeah,
the Borderlands. The one.
yes, yes, the one with the church.
That's my favorite found footage. Apart from that obvious ones like Wreck, I think that Borderlands is my favorite. It's like completely and utterly messed me up, the ending of
Yes,
that.
that last act, that last plot development. I've got a real soft spot for that film, not just because I really like it, because they filmed it just down the road from where I am in Torquay. Well, they actually filmed it in Newton Abbot in a little village called Ipplepen, and the church is there. The church is on top of the hill. I went like and looked for it. I was like, oh, there it is. And it was even quite, having watched the film, it was quite sinister. It was like, oh yeah, there it is. It's just an unassuming little church, but they use it so well. Yeah, that's a great film. More people need to watch that.
Yeah, I've watched it as well. I laugh at not now. It's Gordon Kennedy plays the main exorcist.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know. It was shown in Channel 4. There used to be a Scottish stroke Welsh. Absolutely. And oh, every time I see him, I just think of the Stony Bridge Town Council. Stony Bridge used to do that. It was funny. And you used to see them all there with the kilts on, and even the women had the moustaches and everything. And it was funny.
What was that in? What was it called?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. I'm not familiar with it.
Late 90s. It's Channel 4 showed it. It was predominantly Scottish comedians, but there was Welsh and English comedians and an Irish comedian as well. I think the lady was Irish.
Morwenna Banks was on it, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
that was her. She also did that one of the little girl, the little
Yeah.
young girl, and I remember that one. But yeah, it took me a second watching of Borderlands to really appreciate it as
Yeah.
well.
He does that thing that I love that I think I heard John Landis talk about it once when he was talking about America Werewolf in London, about because people talked about it as like a comedy horror. He was like, it's not comedy horror, it's a horror.
Yeah.
Real people are funny. Real people joke about stuff, and it's funny when sort of people bicker and stuff. And that's so it's a way of sort of disarming the audience a bit, is like having characters sort of interact in that way. And I think the Borderlands does that really well with the two main characters. They're constantly bickering, and like one of them's like really the guy he's called Robin. Oh, Robin something. He was from Down Terrace, main guy from that.
Yeah, Ben Wheatley film.
Yeah, he's like he's the tech guy, isn't he? Leading of it. And he's like making fun of the locals for have fun with Edward Woodward or something.
And it's like you do not want to do that, and then yeah, you really do not want to do that. But the great thing is that the two priests, because there's another character, isn't there, played by Aidan McCardle, who comes over later on. The two priests are the skeptics. So the two priests are kind of like, we've traveled all over the world debunking bogus exorcisms. Chances are what's going on in this church isn't real. And the techie guys are, well, who's to say it isn't real? I thought that was quite clever. So the atheistic guy is the one who believes, and the two men of faith don't necessarily believe it, not until the shit hits the fan at the end. It's a smart film. It's well written, I think.
Right. So what rating did you give your film again?
Strange Harvest.
Yes.
I'd say 4 out of 5.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
It's at the upper end of this kind of thing. I think there's a care and attention to it, which elevates it above the usual found footage mockumentary schlock.
Yeah. So, folks, if you want to read Sean's review and also watch his interview with the director, just head over to thepeoplesmovies.com and you'll find it over there. Just type in the name of the film and it'll all come up. As we continue the slug of horror found footage movies, this one is going to be a doubler, because there's only one way to describe these two movies. They're crap. They're absolute crap, but they're in the sense of they're that bad, they're that good. And they're Fright Fest movies as well. I watched both of these movies at the Glasgow Fright Fest. I can't comment on the London version because the Glasgow version is slightly shorter. It's just 2 days. Usually the last movie on the first day, and maybe the first and maybe the second movie the second day, the movies aren't great. Because people are going to disappear, or they're going to disappear if it's the end movie. They're going to, what they call it, just no bother turning up till later. Because everyone's got their choices. So these films, 2008, they came out around about 2012, 2013, 2014. But I believe both of them didn't come out of the UK till about 2014. That was the Glasgow Fright Fest when they get shown. So they are the evidence in tape 407. As I said, if you know the Dark Heart of Summer Fright Fest, they give you a diverse range of movies, from absolute brilliant movies to absolutely crap movies. here, and these are obviously two of the films that's there. A lot of these movies I'll probably never see a big screen again. Someone might find a release in maybe a digital release or a streaming or a direct to DVD type thing. Others will make the big screen. So evidence I'm going to start with a very generic synopsis. I'm going to read, folks. You hear that? That's how lightweight they are, and that's how lightweight the movies are. I'm sitting here with the DVD boxes of both of them in front of me, and they're actually both 18s. This is four friends, and they embark on a trip into the sort of isolated wilderness. I think it's Los Angeles. Looking at it, remind them when you see them in the area they're in. And they're going up to make a documentary movie, very generic there. I believe it's one of their friends goes missing, and then this is they're making a movie about him, and they're up there. And so they're making their way up there, and you see them all walking around the wilderness. This movie, folks, it's only 77 minutes long. It's quite a bit of a slow burn, but it's one of these movies, if you stick with it, the second half is absolute bonkers. You sort of watch them, you're getting to know these characters, as ever in a lot of these movies. Some of the characters are very unlikable. Some of them, you don't really care what's going to happen to them as well. And they're recording around. And if your eagle died, you see little clues around what may be about to happen. And the guys start to see some just slightly in the distance might be stalking them. It's like this black bull thing. And the way I've wrote down in my notes here, think guys, you've seen Studio Ghibli movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know the little suit monsters that always have in a lot of these movies, a little suit monsters. Think if one of them was the size of a Frank Oz Dark Crystal movie.
What, Skeksis?
Yeah, you know the big sort of big. It's like they're on stilts type thing, you know that type of thing. So at one point, the guy's interviewing one. It's two couples basically. They're interviewing him, one of them, and he's seen some in the background, and it's distracting you. You see. No, they're saying that's just marking the ground there, and then it suddenly moves. And a lot of other things start to happen during this. And then basically, the first night they hear sort of cries, these really creepy, unsettling cries, and they see a lot of shadows happening as well. And there's at one point that they're camping around. I think they're telling all these typical camp stories. And then suddenly out of nowhere, this very hairy man, long-haired man, just appears, stranger, very creepy man, and he sits down and he went, I can't remember exactly what he was asking. I'll need to watch him again.
I've just realised I've seen this. When you describe, I thought this was ringing a bell when you described the long-haired bloke walking down and sitting next to them by the campfire.
Yeah,
and that's a really well acted bit because they're all just looking at each other, going, "What the hell?" Like they don't shriek or scream, do they? They just react in a really plausible way, for a found footage movie.
I think he's got a gun or a big knife that he sort of pulls out to get their attention, and he starts talking to them and everything. And they're trying to get rid of him because they're all getting tired, but eventually does go. And then during the night, the thing that's stalking him attacks him. And this is when hell breaks loose. It's this big black suit monster type thing that's attacking them. Something happens to one of them, and the rest of them start fleeing away. And it's very generic, where they're heading to somewhere to hide. And there's one scene, and I think it's one of the best scenes. It looks like they're on an AstroTurf pitch type thing, and he's chatting away there, and you notice in the background one of the black things suddenly attacks out of nowhere. And this is sort of one of the good jump scares that are happening, and it attacks them, and there's a lot of little things happening. You see little clues at what might have happened. And they say, what the hell's going on here? And then they eventually get to this warehouse, and this is when the fan gets full of you know what. And this is where, you know what I actually say this is? It's not that rubbish Borderlands movie they made recently. Not the Borderlands film we're talking about. Yeah, the video game one, yeah.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. This is what Borderlands should have been like. Because this has got guys, you know how in the game they've got a guy, he's shirtless and he's got this gas mask on. And he's full of tattoos and he's a bit of a maniac. This warehouse is full of these guys. There's guys that are wearing Nazi uniforms and they've got the masks on and they're jumping out everywhere. Have you ever seen Demon? You know that Italian Lamberto Bava movie? It's set in a old Berlin theatre. And
no,
the girl that made the 1980s version of Supergirl.
Oh, right.
She's in it. And you see this bit where just throwing the demons in the air, and they're in this bike, and I go whoosh up in the air, and it's like some of the Muppets where they just like throw these dummies in front of them. It looks like they're trying to get them. You know, these Borderland guys in this warehouse are like that. They're absolutely nuts, and there's everything in here. Creatures small and large. More of these big black creatures are there as well. And they get to this one point. There's this mutated lady. She's lined up, and she's giving birth to all these monsters. It's absolutely bonkers. There's not much else you can describe about it. It's one of these films where you need to watch the end as well, the end credits, because it gives you a little clue in the end credits what these monsters might be. A government experiment went wrong. It did something attack them whilst they were in there, because there is a scene at the end where it leaves an open mind. These two movies, they are so bad they're so good type thing. You'll be laughing at the movie, you know.
I must admit, I've seen this one. I didn't think this one was that bad, to be honest.
Yeah.
It devolved, from what I remember of it, it devolves into the usual shaky cam history, because there's always found footage movies usually all follow the same formula. There's two-thirds of build-up, and then everyone just starts screaming and waving the camera around. The camera will be tracking along the ground, then it will pan up, and then something will jump out. Then someone will scream and drop the camera. Then someone will pick up the camera and run screaming the other way. I mean, it did devolve into that, but I thought this was okay.
No, I thought it was as well. You know, as you said, there was a bit the camp scenes were well acted as well.
Yeah,
it's just at the end, it was just screaming things out there, and people being killed. There was little creatures as well, you know, in there as well, like ratty type creatures. Tape 407, right? This is bad. It's funny. This is bad. Right, so I'll read the box. So. It starts with the beginning's fine. It's fine. You see all these people going in this plane. It's just a short domestic journey, like me coming from Glasgow Airport to London Heathrow Gatwick. That type of length.
Yeah.
And it hits extreme turbulence, and
see, that would be the real horror for me, because I hate flying. You don't need anything supernatural around it. Just that would be enough to make me cat myself.
Yeah, and I went to Tokyo a couple 3 years ago now, and there was a bit of turbulence, and I said I'll never swear it on my podcast. There was a bit of turbulence, and I nearly shat myself. You know, so there you go. So that's the turbulence, and the plane crashes. So at the beginning, you actually start to meet the characters. There's a young girl and her sister, I believe. She's a bit of an annoying little character, and she's very nosy. She's the one with the camera. She's interviewing all the people that are on this flight. Some of them don't want to know her. Some of them are saying, "Oh, just get away." No, and one of them I want to chat to. And so the plane crashes. It's in the middle of the dark. No one knows what's happening. So when the plane goes down, there's a handful of survivors. So they find that they're trapped, and this is when the true nightmare, starts to begin. You start to hear once again noises. You know, it sounds like some creature is stalking them, and it's eating them one by one, and they're trying to obviously survive. And basically right at the end, it's a 90-minute movie. You find out exactly what it is, because the full name of this movie is Tape 407. It's a Mesa Reserve incident, and the Mesa. It says at the end of this, they were part of the government's top secret Mesa experiment, and you find out what the big experiment is. And see when that get revealed right at the end, because something happens to the two survivors before it, everyone just laughed out loud. Guys, you can ask me at the end exactly what it is. This was absolutely awful, but it was funny. Where that evidence, it was funny, it was bonkers, but it had good bits in it, as you said, Sean. This was just so bad, it was laughable. You know, so
do they not even get the plane crash bit right? Is that not even scary, or just
no? Yeah, the plane crash was probably the best part. The acting was that bad. Even what's it they call it? The bad Oscars, the strawberry,
the raspberry,
the strawberries.
They should call it the strawberries.
The Razzies. This is so bad for the Razzies. The Razzies would reject it. That's how bad that is. But it's so fun. I picked it up because it was only £1. Evidence was about £2 at the time. And I thought, you know what? I loved them that much, you know. So that's my movies. Sean, are you getting any more? Nick, you get any more?
We said we were going to have a talk about ghost stories for Christmas.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know. I don't even know how well known this tradition is outside of people who like in the know. But there's a sort of tradition of like of the BBC making these like little very short creepy films at Christmas time, and yeah, and that's what I just wanted to talk about. There's been like I think it all. I mean, sure, you'll probably know more than me, but I think it all kicked off with like in very late 60s with this adaptation of an M.R. James story called Whistle and I'll Come to You,
Yeah.
which isn't one of those ghost stories for Christmas, but it is terrifying.
It is, yeah, Jonathan Miller's adaptation of that, which is, I mean, it's an impeccable adaptation of the story, and the story is, I would say, probably one of the scariest stories ever written, and it really does it justice. Like Michael Hordern is in it as the academic who finds the whistle on the beach, blows it. It's like, you don't want to do that because the classic M.R. James trope is don't mess with what you don't know. There are lots of warnings to the curious, like people who are nosy, people who are maybe little bit bored, like academics who are maybe not that intellectually stimulated, who go searching for treasure, so on and so forth. I mean, I don't know what you think, Nick. I think M.R. James was the king of this
Yeah,
genre.
I mean, he's very much got his template, hasn't he? Of like,
Mm.
it's very effective. I think like hubris and arrogance is a big part of it as well. And people who like go like sort of dismiss any sort of idea of like any sort of supernatural element. And yeah, and so yeah, it's not just Emma James. There's a really good adaptation of The Signalman with Denham Elliott.
The Charles Dickens story. Yeah, that's great. That's
Um,
flawless, that one.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
those were like and actually my favorite one doesn't really one of my favorites from that era that doesn't really fit the mold is Lost Hearts, which I
Another M.R. James one, a very gruesome one at that. Yeah.
oh, if you haven't seen it, you should look that one up because it's like I saw it when I was quite young, and the story is a lot more complicated than it sounds, but like this kid is just haunted by these two children, and who've got long nails and long hair because they've been like obviously that they keep growing after you die, and like one of the kids just plays a hurdy-gurdy and they do this weird dance and it's the stuff of nightmares and it's just what you want before you go to bed on a Christmas.
I mean, the way I remember the way that James described that in the story, like the moonlight shining through the nails, like the nails are so long that the moonlight is actually caught, and it's just little details like that. Which the TV adaptation, I think, Lawrence Gordon Clark, I think, did a lot of these, and he did a fantastic job at adapting a lot of these stories. But yeah, I just think that, I mean, the idea of, I mean, I love ghostly stories because I just think that they take us up to the limits of our own knowledge, and they kind of get us to question, like, what is beyond our comprehension within the real world. I find that a very interesting notion, and I think that the idea of putting it at Christmas is very interesting. I mean, I suppose Christmas has always had supernatural associations. I mean, I suppose Charles Dickens with The Christmas Carol probably helped popularize that a lot. But there is something weirdly comforting. I mean, horror films can be, we've talked here about a lot of quite gross horror films, which is fine. Yeah, horror films can be gross. And but I think there's something weirdly comforting about these ghost stories for Christmas. They're always like comfort food, really, I think, for me.
There is a thing as well about like, well, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't have brought that whistle home with me and blown it.
I would have put it right back in the ground.
Yeah, I wouldn't have dug up that treasure if it was cursed. I wouldn't have done any of that stuff. So
Even if you'd been given all the clues, even if you'd been given every single clue, you'd be like, no, no, I'm not gonna, not
there's
gonna.
always a warning. There's always something saying, don't take this.
Yeah, I
Um,
suppose we're talking about the treasure of Abbot Thomas there, aren't we? Specifically, which is
yeah,
another great one.
that's when I only watched that for the first time last year because it was like
Mm,
all the way through them, and there's something really sickening about when the stuff it all falls on
all
it.
the slime. This is classic M.R. James things. Like, you don't. M.R. James was the master of discretion. Like, you don't ever really know what it is in each story. He just gives you little teasing details of, like, maybe fingers or teeth or slime. It's like, it's just like he influenced so many horror writers through that sense of discretion, and it must be a real challenge for filmmakers to put that on the screen without overdoing it. But that's what I thought these Ghost Stories for Christmas did that superbly well. I mean, I really love A Warning to the Curious with Peter Vaughan, which is unbelievably menacing. I mean, it's one of M.R. James's darkest and probably bleakest stories, but and the TV version preserves that. Just the landscape, like that North Norfolk landscape, which is just full of suggestion and hidden treasure and vengeful spirits, and yeah, it's great.
I guess he's sort of, I mean, these and MRJ in particular are sort of the progenitor of that whole idea of like a figure just watching from the distance.
Yeah, yeah.
Closer. It's like there's something really like it's just sort of inevitable, isn't it? It just gets closer and closer. There's no stopping it. And then
Yeah.
like
And yet when he has, what is it he says? He has some power over your eyes. Whenever I turn to look at him, he's gone. But I know he's always there behind me. It's fine. I mean, I'm bring Paul in on this. Paul, do you remember these being on or watching any of these?
No. When I started into horror, I was probably right into the gore and things like that. I was in more of the sort of classical literature side of things, you know. But I do know the name M.R. James. I'm trying to think what films his books have been adapted into.
There
Night
was
of the Demon Night of the Demon is based on casting.
Yeah, I know that one.
And I think in Dead of Night, I think one of the stories is based on an M.R. James, but I can't remember which one.
Oh, are you thinking of E.F. Benson, the bus conductor, E.F. Benson, the one where he's looking through the window and he
I know
sees,
that one. I know that
yeah.
one.
Oh, right. Maybe there's an M.R. James one in there as well. Yeah, Dead of Night is great.
Yeah, no, yeah. I don't. I think Night of the Demon's the big one that got adapted like cinematically. I think most of his short stories have been adapted now for Ghost Story for Christmas. Thanks very much. Thanks in part to Mark Gatiss, who's
Mm.
survived it really, really well. I think.
What was the one he did? I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. He did the mezzo tints, which is the idea of the picture, which is narrating some kind of horrible tragedy at a big country house. That's a fact. It's just that it's still, I think, great horror is built on simple conceits like that, and it's so chilling.
I enjoyed the Tractate Midith as well.
Yeah, yeah.
See, my favorite new one wasn't directed by Mark Gatiss. It's A View from a Hill.
Oh yes,
I think that might be my favorite.
with the binoculars.
Cursed Binoculars. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But people watch it, and it's genuinely spine tingling. Yeah, like you look through the binoculars, you're seeing something that's not there, and then you look through the binoculars again, and it's yeah, it is there.
And now there's someone watching you back as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The thing that sends the chill down your spine and it's
yeah. I think for me I think for me horror can do a lot of different things. I mean, I think that for me something like that is genuine fear, like which is what I want out of a horror film. I don't mind splattery gore. I quite like it, whether it's in a serious context like The Substance or a horror comedy context like The Evil Dead. But what I really want from a horror film is just to be unsettled psychologically and emotionally. And I think ghost stories, particularly these ones, are a really, really good way of doing that. I love Jack Clayton's adaptation of The Turn of the Screw, like The Innocents.
Yeah,
She's just masterful.
I've seen them.
Yeah, Miss Jessel standing on the other side of the lake in a black, which is just an absolute masterpiece of understatement. Terrifying.
The game of hide and seek where Deborah Kerr's hiding behind the curtain and that thing just approaches.
Quint comes from the window. Yeah. It's obviously adapted by Truman Capote. That version was, but yeah, just a masterpiece of understatement. But I think one can sense the M.R. James influence in so much, because one of my favorites is not an English language film. It's a Japanese film called Dark Water. Terrifying, but also devastatingly sad as well. I'll say it. Hideo Nakata, who directed that, also directed Ring. I think it's a better film than Ring. I think it deserves more plaudits, frankly. But...
I agree. Dark Water's like one of my. I mean, it's got the remake's not very good, but I remember the bit when in the corridor.
Oh, Yeah.
Where she grabs the daughter's hand and runs out, and then turns around. Oh.
And I mean, again, the M.R. James thing of like imbuing ordinary objects with a real sense of menace. Like in Dark Water, it's a backpack, it's a child's backpack. You think it's kind of the most ordinary object in the world. There's nothing sinister about that. Just watch what happens, what Hideo Nakata does with it in this film. It's great.
I think that's sort of the sort of type of movies, stories that you're talking about. Actually, I've recently seen the BBC version of The Woman in Black, which is more terrifying than the remakes, the
Oh
actual
yeah,
film,
yeah, totally. Yeah.
and which is quite unusual for a television drama. And it was a bit of a controversy, I remember at the time, as in the rating and things like that. Should this be shown at this time or at that time? Because that's the thing with a lot of the sort of BBC dramas that get into ghost stories. They can be shown at virtually any time. Because obviously back in the day, you had like the Play for the Day, which was always on in the afternoon, and that could have been a bit terrifying. Obviously in ITV, it was Tales of the Unexpected. That was always shown after showing my age. That's life, so that was about 10 o'clock at night. And that was a little bit more seedier as well, but it did have its elements. And I remember Hammer House of Horror used to be on Monday nights about 11:30 at night. It was always on before, after the. This shows you how long ago it was when the WWE wrestling used to be the WWF and WCW used to get shown. Yep, they used to be shown on normal television before they got into the digital channels that they are now.
What do you remember what time that Woman in Black version was shown? Do you remember what time it was actually on? 'Cause it's pretty scary.
It was on from BBC Four or something like that. I watched it, so
Yeah,
it would have been on after 7 at least anyway. So I
yeah,
would probably say at least 10 o'clock.
yeah.
It might have been for Halloween or something like that. Or the way you guys are talking about M.R. James, I think he's probably more influential. Made more books. It became films and plays than probably Stephen King.
Mm.
A good chance before Stephen King you had M.R. James, and I wouldn't be surprised if Stephen King says he's been inspired by some of his films, his stories,
Oh,
sorry.
well, I would have thought so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Stephen King is very very well read across the board. I know Stephen King always cites Shirley Jackson as well. The Haunting of Hill House
Yeah,
is like one of the great foundational horror stories, and of course we've had many different versions of The Haunting. You have the '60s one, and then there's the '90s one where Owen Wilson gets decapitated in the fireplace, and
yeah,
and then the Mike Flanagan one.
yeah,
But The Woman in Black is the Susan Hill, the original novel is amazing, and the play is bloody terrifying. I saw the play in Torquay. I was like, oh my God, it's genuinely intense. And there's only like two actors in it, two actors and like two props. And you kind of think, how scary is this going to be? It's absolutely terrifying.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, anything else you like to say about the ghost stories for Christmas?
There is going to be one this year as well, which
Oh,
I mean, I feel like Mark Gatiss, much as I love his ones, the last couple haven't been my favorites. Last year's one I like, Women of Stone, I thought was really good, but the year before that is it Arthur Conan Doyle, the
Oh,
lot.
the case 49 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I wasn't a big fan of that one, but I'm hoping that this year will be like back on form. They've sort of he started moving away from M.R. James stories now, exclusively M.R. James stories. So last year it was
Yeah, Inez, but yeah, man size
yeah.
in marble. It was originally taken from. Yeah, but
And this year's one is it E.F. Benson?
yeah, he's another fan. I mean, I don't think he got as many flowers as M.R. James did because E.F. Benson didn't specialize in ghost stories, but he did it as kind of like a side project. Although M.R. James actually kind of technically did that as well. But yeah, Benson did more gruesome. I think more gruesome and more overly graphic ones. There's one of his stories. I mean, I like a lot of E.F. Benson stories because a lot of them are set down in Cornwall, which again is not far away from where I grew up. So a lot of those like little villages that hang on to like traditions and everything. There's one that I'd love to see Mark Gatiss adapt this one. It's called Negotium Perambulans, which is about like there's like a slug-like entity that like haunts this church in this like Cornish village, and it's really tactile and it's just really like grim. And you kind of think that would be great if they adapted that, or any Benson ones. But yeah.
And that's your wrap, folks. That's your episode 51 of the Chronicle. Thank you very much for joining us for this episode. VHS Halloween is on Shudder, as I said, and you can find the 4K version of Martyrs on Eureka. Strange Harvest, obviously, is also out digital VOD. The reviews are over at the People's Movies. You find it over there. Sean and Nick, thank you very much for joining us. Nick, you want to go first? You want to just tell everyone where they can find your work on social media, and if there's any place, be it a podcast or anything that you do write for it as well.
Yes, sure. So I write for the People's Movies. I write for Film Hounds and Critical Popcorn at the moment. You can find me on Twitter. Do we call it Twitter or X? Or
Yeah.
find me on there as I am D Bartlett, and I'm on Blue Sky as well.
And Sean, you want to tell the viewers your...
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Sean Film Writer. That's SCAN, not Sean as in Shaun of the Dead. This is the Irish version of the name, where you can find links to my work for the likes of Film Hounds, People's Movies, and also my book, The Sound of Cinema, which is an academic exploration in the history of film music, because that's my specialism. But yes, all spirals out from Instagram, really, at Sean Film Writer. Yeah, and also a link to the podcast I do at Frame to Frame, which is on the Film Stories Podcast Network as well.
That's great. And as for myself, the Chronicle, the People's Movies, we're still on Facebook at the People's Movie. X, we're at the People's Movie as well. Instagram at the People's Movies. YouTube, the People's Movies.com. That is where you'll also find the episodes of the podcast if you're not listening on to People's Movies. The Chronicle you will find on many of your popular sites, download sites to get your podcasts, like Apple, Podbean, which is our main one, Spotify, Amazon Music, and as I said, YouTube. We do continue the chat over at the Chronicle Take 2. Stay tuned on that social media, so get yourself subscribed up to that for future episodes. And also you'll find out, you might find out future reviews for myself, Sean and Nick on there as well. You can sign up for an email newsletter. You'll find the link over at the People's Movies. That's where you'll find about the future podcasts and other things we do on the website. You can also show your support for the Chronicle and People's Movies with Buy Me a Coffee and PayPal. The links are there. We do now do a Patreon. So I'll add the link onto either the information you're finding below the podcast. Do share this podcast on social media with your friends and family. And if you're listening via one of those popular podcast websites, do give us a rating. We are a very small podcast, and you sharing and rating it does help many more people to find this podcast. Thank you very much to you. Thank you very much to Sean and Nick for joining us. Until the next time, enjoy the movies.